Vivahel, Assistant Professor in Chemical Engineering Department at LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. The subject that we are going to continue is petroleum refining and petrochemicals. So in this lecture we will study about the remaining kind of petrochemicals, right? So this is the last topic of your petrochemicals. The remaining topic like polystyrene, ethanolamine, okay, that all would be studied here. So first of all, polystyrene, it is a part of your polymer chapter. Okay, so styrene is polymerized here by either free radical initiator or by the use of coordination catalyst. Okay, so polystyrene is a polymer of which the monomer is what? Styrene. The catalyst used here is Ziegler-Natta catalyst. Okay, now the method of polymerization which is used, okay, that can be bulk polymerization or suspension polymerization. Now, UOP method is used to produce polystyrene and styrene copolymers like styrene acrylonitrile and high impact polystyrene. Okay, so UOP is the kind of a novel method. Okay, the name of this method is UOP. Similarly, there is a unipole method also. So see, all these methods, okay, they are developed by the particular industries and they follow this methodology to produce your different kind of copolymers associated with your polystyrene. Okay, so this is the flow sheet. You can see that in a polymerization reactor, okay, you are adding your first of all components. Monomer is what? Styrene. You are adding your water and suspension agent if you are carrying out what? Suspension polymerization, right? If you are using that method, then you are adding suspension agents. Now, in a whole tank, after the polymerization reaction, it is sent to a whole tank. Okay, so the use of whole tank is so as to settle down the reaction product, right? Then it is then sent to the centrifuge from where your mother liquor is separated out. Okay, then followed by a dryer process where your remaining suspension, okay, that is dried off. Then to the blender where your certain additives are added. Then to the pelletizer, okay, in the form of small pellets you are forming your product. Then through the screen so as to remove out any other traces of impurities, right? And finally you are getting your polystyrene. So this is a very simple flow sheet of your production process. Now what are the uses of polystyrene? This is the very important topic of your polystyrene topic, right? So first of all, it is used as a packaging material. See, polythene, polystyrene, polyvinyl acetate, these are different grades of plastic, right? They are included in plastic range. So it is used as a packaging material. It has good thermal insulating properties. Hence it is also used in refrigerator and freezers. What is the work here? As an insulator, right? Now it is also used to make body of your computers, television, etc. Okay, so in the hardware of your electronics, it is made of what? Polystyrene. Now if you are talking about the medical use, then it is used for making what? Sterilizing test tubes. Okay, that sterilized test tubes. Then diagnostic components and other medical devices also. Okay, it is used to manufacture car parts which include knobs, instrument panels, sound dampening foam, etc. Okay, so these are the certain uses of your polystyrene. The next kind of petrochemical which we will study here is your chloromethyl. Now chloromethyl is included in your C1 petrochemical range. Okay, it is obtained from what? Methane. Now, so chloromethanes, it is a group of chloromethyl hydrocarbons. Okay, what are included here? Methyl chloride, okay, CH3Cl, then methylene chloride, CH2Cl2, right? You can see that Cl has been increased. Then chloroform, what is it? That is CHCl3 and carbon tetrachloride. Okay, so you can see that successive chlorination will give you these range of products, and these products are included in your what? Chloromethanes. So they are produced by direct chlorination of Cl2 in a gas phase reaction without any catalyst. Okay, so no catalyst is used here. So you can see the reaction which is followed. Okay, now the nature of reaction is what? It is exothermic in nature. So you can see that it is a series of successive reaction. Okay, starting from methyl, first of all you are making what? Methyl chloride. Then this methyl chloride, further on chlorination, it will give you methylene chloride. Okay. Now again methylene dichloride, okay, it is subjected to chlorination and you will get your chloroform. So this way your four reactions are produced in a successive manner, right? Now The feed molar ratio affects the product distribution. Okay, all these four components are your product. Feed molar ratio means feed of methane and chlorine. The initial which your feed ratio which you're deciding, that will affect the product which is formed, right? When CH4 to Cl2 ratio is 1:8, okay, then more amount of CH3Cl is formed. Okay, if you're keeping the mole ratio of methane to chlorine as about 1:8, then CH3Cl, that is the methyl chloride, will be formed in abundance. On the other hand, if your methane is chosen as a limiting reactant, okay, if you're taking methane as a limiting reactant, then more amount of carbon tetrachloride will be formed. So you can see that how the feed ratio affects your product, right? So based on the product demand, you can adjust your feed ratio. Now this is the flow diagram of your chloromethane formation, right? So let's move on to the process. So first of all, in a furnace, your temperature condition is what? About 280 to 300 degrees Celsius, and you are using your nitrogen as your dilute. Okay, and now again, whatever the feed ratio you have to choose about of methane to chlorine, okay, it depends on the type of product you desire in most. Okay, so here you can see that in reactor what you are sending your methane and you're compressing your chlorine. Okay, so this way in your reactor you're carrying out your reaction. Now then this reaction mixture is then sent to absorber, where you're using water as your absorbent. Okay, water absorbs the HCl gases which is produced, and thus a solution of 32% HCl solution is produced. Okay, so see, HCl is the byproduct which is formed here, right? So HCl is absorbed using water. So here you can see that your reaction mixture, okay, it is then sent to absorber, where you're using H2O. Okay, so you can say that a counter current fashion this reaction is happening. Okay, the absorption process, that is in counter current. So from the bottom you get 32% of your HCl solution. Now this product mixture is then sent to neutralizer. Okay, you have taken out the HCl. Now the remaining product mixture is then sent to neutralizer, where you're using caustic, NaOH. You're using your caustic soda so as to remove the traces of your HCl. Okay, remove any impurity of HCl which is present. Okay, that traces is neutralized by NaOH. Okay, so now from NaOH, okay, what you are doing from NaOH, three processes are happening. Okay, compression is happening, partial condensation, and then finally separation. So here you can see that from NaOH neutralizer, you are first of all compressing it. You have increased the pressure. Then it is partially condensed. From partial condenser, it is then separated. Okay, you can see that yellow figure, that is your separator. Now, in phase separator, what is happening? Liquid and vapor phases are separated. Okay, so your liquid, that is rich in chlorides, whereas your vapor, that is unreacted methane and nitrogen. So you can see that. Okay, so the phase separation has been taken place. Now in dryer, now from here it is then sent to dryer to remove H2O from the vapor stream using 98% H2SO4 as the absorbent. Okay, the vapor stream, that is unreacted methane and nitrogen, it is then sent to a dryer to remove any traces of water which is present. Okay, so here you can see that from the drying tower you are drying out, okay, using what, 98% H2SO4. The remaining methane and nitrogen, okay, it is recycled back, right? You can see how from drying tower it is recycled back. Now the liquid which is obtained from the phase separator, okay, that is sent to the distillation sequence, so that separation of your CH3Cl, okay, methylene dichloride, chloroform and carbon tetrachloride occur. So you can see that from the separator, okay, your liquid stream is then sent to a multi-component fractionator. Okay, so you can see that all the four components are obtained. So this was the production of your what? Chloromethanes. Now the major engineering problems associated is, first of all, is your reaction control. Okay, as this reaction is highly exothermic and it is a chain reaction, right? Your chlorine, it acts as a free radical. Okay, so you have to control this chain reaction, otherwise uncontrollable reaction will occur. So here methane to chlorine ratio is very important. Okay, so the method to control the reaction is what? First of all, use of excess methane. more the amount of methane is there, so your limited, so your free radical, okay, chlorine radical, it will react with as much as chlorine which is methane which is present, right? Now, use of nitrogen gas as a diluent, okay, so now you are using your nitrogen as the diluent. Use of liquid as a co-solvent, okay, then add chlorine stage wise along the reactor. So another method can be that directly not you're feeding all of your chlorine, okay, stage by stage you will add your chlorine into the reactor. Then close temperature control, okay, so for temperature controlling what you can do, you can add either inert also, or a jacketed coil can be provided for your reactor so as to control the heat of the reaction, right? Now the next major engineering problem is the product ratio control. Okay, see, in this reaction generally CH3Cl, okay, that is your methyl chloride is formed in most, but talking about industrially as your product consumption, okay, carbon tetrachloride is mainly in more demand, so the ratio of methane to chlorine has to be set up very specifically, because that is your most important product here, carbon tetrachloride, okay, so hence your ratio of methane to chlorine along with dilute, okay, that ratio is very important to be settled. Now utilization of HCl, that is the third major engineering problem. HCl, okay, CH3Cl can be produced from methanol also, so this way usage of HCl can be used. So here instead of water absorbing column you can provide another reactor, okay, where the methanol which is produced in your industry, okay, if anywhere methanol is produced as a byproduct, you can react HCl with that methanol to make what? CH3Cl again. So this way instead of water scrubber you can add another reactor, right? So this can be done. Now the next petrochemical here is your ethanolamine, okay, it is formed from what? C2 petrochemicals, okay, from ethylene, product of ethylene, okay. So the main reactant here is what? Ethylene oxide. Now again ethylene oxide is formed from what? It is obtained from ethylene, okay. So ethylene oxide on reaction with ammonia, it gives you monoethanolamine, right? Again this methanolamine, when it reacts with ammonia, it gives you diethanolamine. Further reaction of ammonia, it gives you triethanolamine, okay. So you can say that your ethanolamine is present in three forms, mono, di and tri forms, right? Now above reaction is series reaction, okay, so this is a series of reaction which happens. Another important point is that is exothermic in nature. Now your ammonia is in your aqueous phase and your ethylene oxide is in your vapor state, so your reaction is what? It is a gas liquid reaction. Now here what is the limiting reactant? Ethylene oxide is your limiting reactant. So this is the flow diagram, okay. So let's move forward to the process. So first of all, in a CSTR what you're feeding your reactants, ethylene oxide and ammonia. Now your pressure is high so as to carry out both the components into a liquid phase, because we are trying to carry out a liquid phase reaction only. So here you can see that your ammonia, okay, you are trying to do a heat recovery as much as possible, whereas your ethylene oxide, it is compressed here. So here you can see a CSTR is used, okay, it is cooled using what? A water jacket. Now then in the CSTR your reaction is happening. Now then your reaction mixture is sent where? To flash unit, where it separates ammonia and H2O as a vapor stream, okay. So two streams are produced, vapor and liquid. In your vapor stream you have what? Unreacted ammonia and water, right? And in your liquid stream you have your ethanolamine and water mixture. So here you can see that your NH3 flash, okay, that is a flash column. Unreacted ammonia and water is taken from the top, okay, as in the vapor phase, and from the bottom you are taking out your liquid ethanolamine and water. Now this ammonia is recycled back, okay, into the feed to CSTR. Now the flash separator, your liquid stream, okay, that is ethanolamine and water mixture, it is then sent to water separation tower, where you are using your water to dissolve the remaining ammonia which is present in traces, right? So here you can see that water separation tower, traces of the ammonia, that is taken out and it is recycled back into your CSTR, okay. Now from water separation tower, you are sending your product to series of distillation column. Okay, so here you can see that mono tower, di tower and tri tower. Okay, all these three tower, they are the fractionating columns, okay, which separate out individual components of ethanolamine. Okay, so from mono tower you get your mono ethanolamine, from di tower you get your di-ethanolamine, and from your tri-ethanolamine tower, okay, from your tri tower you are getting your tri-ethanolamine. Now note down here, di tower and tri tower, okay, both of them operate under vacuum. Okay, so the pressure is what? Below atmosphere, hence both di and tri tower, they operate under vacuum. So this way you are getting your mono, di and tri-ethanolamine. So now the major engineering problem associated with this ethanolamine production is, first of all, is your volume ratio of air to ethylene. Okay, see, ethylene and air, they make a explosive mixture. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are trying to limit this explosion concentration, okay, by how much? By 3%. Okay, so whatever the explosive limit of your mixture might be there, you are keeping it below 3. So that way you are arranging the concentration of ethylene in your air such that it is 3% lower than the explosive limit. Okay, now use of reactors in series. Now we can, instead of using one CSTR, you can keep CSTRs in series. This way to increase what? To increase the conversion of your ethylene. Next is air versus oxygen. Okay, so instead of using air, you can directly use pure oxygen. This way the oxygen which is needed to support the reaction, okay, so limited amount of volume might be taken up by the oxygen. If you are using air, in your air only 21% of oxygen is there, okay, the rest is 79% is what? That is your N2. Okay, so this will save the volume which is consumed by your air if you are using pure oxygen. Another major engineering problem is the selection of your reactor. Okay, here CSTR is used, but fluidized bed and fixed bed are also another kind of reactor which are available for option. But why we cannot choose this? First of all, fluid bed. Okay, it is ideal for heat control, but the problem is that the carrying away of your catalyst can happen, right? Whereas for fixed bed, problem of hotspot is there. So we cannot use your fluidized bed or fixed bed here. Now the next is the hydration of ethylene oxide to ethylene glycol. Okay, so here you can see that in your water separation tower you are using what? Water to absorb ammonia. Now water which is used for absorption, it can react with ethylene oxide to give you ethylene glycol. So this way an undesired reaction can happen, and the main use of water which is to carry out the absorption of ammonia, that is also halted, right? So these are the major engineering problems associated with your ethanolamine production. So that was for today's lecture. Thank you.